The Crossing by Gary Paulson. Chapter 1. Manny Bustos awakened when the sun cooked the cardboard over his head and heated the box he was sleeping in until even a lizard could not have taken it. And he knew, suddenly, that it was time. This was the day. He would make the crossing today. Juarez, Mexico, was never quiet. As a border town, it was made of noise that filled all the hours of the day. But the noises changed, and he listened to them now without thinking. Honking horns, the market starting to fill with people trying to get fresh goat cheese or the thick coffee, people yelling insults and curses at each other, a hum of noise. Mornings were the best time, not a good time. There were no good times for him, but the best. He lived on the street, moving, always moving, because he was 14 and he had red hair and large brown eyes with long lashes, and there was danger if he did not move. Danger from the men who would take him and sell him to those who wanted to buy 14-year-old street boys with red hair and long eyelashes. So now he rolled out when the sun warmed the cardboard of his lean-to, wiped his mouth with a finger, and stood to begin moving for the day. Another day in Juarez. But this time it was different. This day he would change it all. He would leave. This day he would cross to the north to the United States and find work, become a man, make money and wear a leather belt with a large buckle and a straw hat with a feathered hatband. Hunger was instant, had never gone. He went to bed hungry, slept hungry, awakened hungry, had hunger every moment of every day, and could not remember when he did not have hunger. Even when he was small, a baby in the back of the Church of Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow, where his unknown mother had left him in a box, and the sisters had tried to feed him, there was hunger. It was almost a friend, the hunger, if something could be a friend and be hated at the same time, and he set out now to find the first food of the day. He tucked the T-shirt into his torn pants and ran his fingers through his hair. It did almost no good. His hair was wiry and thick and full and resisted any attempts at straightening, but it was an automatic gesture. And he jammed in the loose ends when he put the baseball cap on. Across the front of the cap, it said Ford. Manny moved through the alley in back of the church and made for the back of the 2x4 bar and cafe, near the strip of Santa Fe Street, where the bridge crossed over from El Paso into Juarez. Most of the bars and clubs and places with women were for the tourists and soldiers who came over from Fort Bliss and were not open yet. But the 2x4 was open early to catch the people who were going to the market, had been open since 3 o'clock. It was a simple place to eat. In the front was a large gas grill with pipes filled with tiny holes for the gas to burn in rows of blue flames. Past this rotated a rack with whole chickens on steel rods. On the stove to the side was a large pot of beans, frijoles, and at 4 booths were bowls of salsa with seeds, and so hot even Manny, who had a tongue of iron, could not eat it. In the rear of the cafe was a large steel drum with a flame in it, and a flat piece of steel on top for cooking tortillas. At the drum stood Maria. Manny thought of her always as old Maria, although she was not so old, taking the corn dough in small pieces and slapping it flat with her palms, slapping it to drop it on the hot tin, flicking it over with her fingers when it was smoking, cooking the other side until it was done and brown, and adding it to a stack of tortillas that never seemed to grow because people ate them with the chicken and salsa as fast as she could cook them. If he stood long enough and smiled in the shy way, old Maria would sometimes hand him a tortilla, and he could get some beans from the pot if he was lucky, and that would cut away the hunger for a time. Once, a drunken soldier had believed his limp when it was dark, and he was begging, and had given him $5 American, which none of the larger boys had seen, and so he had managed to keep it. At the time, he was only 5 or 6. He did not know his true age, and $5 American was a fortune. He had taken it to the 2x4 and bought a chicken and tortillas and Pepsi Cola and had eaten and eaten until nothing but bones remained. That had been a time that day. He had not gotten full, but there had been something close to it, and he could still close his eyes 8 years later and remember the taste of the grease and the garlic on his face, the feeling of his stomach swollen with food and not with hunger. He had spent over half of the $5 just on food, and would have spent it all had a larger boy not seen him eating and known that he had money and taken the rest from him. Even so, with just half of it, there had been much food, a whole chicken, and a stack of tortillas. He arrived at the back of the 2x4 and stopped outside the screened alley door. It was hot in the alley, and the garbage smells were getting strong, but still the odor of the cooking chicken and the scorching tortillas rolled through the screen and took him. His stomach rumbling, he looked through the screen to see Maria standing by the metal cooker, and he smiled a shy smile. "Hello, beautiful lady. How is your morning?" Maria looked through the screen and laughed. "I could set my watch by you if I had a watch. First the sun, then the heat, then Manny Bustos coming for his breakfast." She finished lapping a tortilla and threw it on the tin, flicked 4 of them over, then picked up some corn dough and started making a new one. Some hair had come loose from the leather tie-back and hung down the side of her face. It was rich and thick and black, but for a small streak of flour in it where she had used her hand to push it back. "I can let you have a tortilla, but the frijoles aren't ready yet." Manny nodded. "I would be very grateful for a tortilla. Your tortillas are the best I have ever eaten."